Well, I would like to survive long enough to see the effects of global warming. I've got an inside tip that it's all a bunch of crap. Collapsing glaciers, dying animals, floods, droughts, and civilizations in jeopardy. Images now tied to climate change.
Global warming is a total hoax, and I'll tell you how I know. Because it's cold today where I live.
No, Stan, I'm afraid us adults just let your children down. We didn't take care of our Earth, and now you've inherited our problems. We didn't listen!
2007, according to a Harris poll, 71% of Americans believed that climate change was real, that it was human-caused. And by last year, that number was down to 44%.
It seems like everyone from cartoons such as The Simpsons to the news is talking about climate change. "2012 was the warmest year on record since 1895. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 2012 had an average temperature of 55.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 1 degree higher than the previous record in 1998. This is crazy since the annual temperature rise is usually only broken by tenths of a degree. Global warming isn't the same because of natural variability and other factors. Even though some states have not seen a drastic statistical amount of warming, research has found that over a 100-year period, the pace of warming in all states has significantly accelerated since the 1970s. So how does this affect us? How about in the closest connection we have to Earth? Food. Everyone needs food. Some people make careers out of it, and some people just love to eat it, but regardless, we all need food to survive. We set out to find how climate change is affecting today's farmers.
We've been trying to harness that predictability and make it useful in agriculture, and it's a continuing process because it's not as straightforward as you might think how to really apply or minimize risk based on the forecast. It's really been a learning process both for the agricultural sector and for us too. My name's David Zierden. I am the state climatologist for Florida.
Do you think that humans have sped up the rate of climate change at this point?
Oh, absolutely. It's indisputable. We've changed the composition of the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide, for example, has increased from around 315 parts per million to now we're approaching 400. So it's been a marked increase in the last 60 years in greenhouse gas concentrations, and that is having a tangible effect on our climate. We've seen the global average temperature rise about 0.8 of a degree Celsius in the last 100 years. I've seen some studies where the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere actually helps the productivity a little bit because it, with photosynthesis, the plants take in carbon dioxide and use sunlight to make sugars in their fuels. So having greater concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere actually helps promote photosynthesis. But you got to be careful. Changes in temperature, especially summer heat and heat stress on the plants, can quickly negate any benefits you see from increased carbon dioxide. Up in Atlanta, in Georgia and Alabama, we had over 2 years of drought that was in a large part triggered by the changes in the Pacific Ocean. So knowing what's going on in the Pacific Ocean, we can forecast these kind of weather patterns, and hopefully the farmers and the agriculture industry can kind of take advantage of this advanced knowledge.
Do you think that the genetic changing or mutation is good for the crop production? Do you think that changing?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at trends in agricultural production, they're uniformly going up and up as technology increases, as you get better varieties, more disease resistant, drought resistant varieties. You can see it in the average yields. They've doubled in the last 20 years just due to these kind of advances in technology. So yeah, it's very good, and very good for the industry, very good for helping to feed the nation and the world. We need to adapt and be ready to deal with the changing changes in the climate. But agriculture is actually very good at doing that. The science of genetics and coming up with new varieties of different crops that handle different climatic conditions better or worse is always evolving, and so I think we're going to be able to use that kind of science to help adapt to climate change. The crops are just as nutritious and you know, probably even more with the technology and the new varieties that come out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like it's inorganic or putting
you look at
bad
everything
stuff or
with, like, the
hormones into
poultry
our
and
bodies.
stuff,
No,
yeah.
it's still
Yeah.
it's still all very good and natural.
After talking to David, we wanted to learn more about genetic engineering, so we decided to go to Florida A&M University's Agriculture Research Center, where they dealt directly with genetic engineering and mutation.
Genetic engineering is beneficial to climate change in such a manner that it gives scientists the ability to be able to move gene back and forth, meaning that if you want to engineer a plant that is more tolerant to cold, you get genes that make the plant become tolerant to cold, and then you insert it to plants that have got the characteristics that you desire.
What are the steps that you're taking to permanently adapt to the climate change at hand?
Some of the steps that can be taken and that we as genetic biotechnologists have taken is to engineer crops that are more tolerant to drought or to climate change. For example, we have crops that are being engineered to, we get genes that from crops that can survive very well in dry areas, and the genes that we get from them can be transferred to other crops to make them become adaptable. Different crops respond differently to climate change, and the most important thing is that currently there are ways in which the crops can be engineered to respond to climate in a way that favors them. When you look at most parts of the world, you can see that there is an effect in the plant production when it comes to the change of weather, because you see the yield is going down.
Like if there's less water available, the plant is going to adapt to that, and mutations will occur to help it survive. But I mean, people are definitely going to water plants more just because they have to cope with the lack of water.
Yeah, I think what Philip is saying is very correct. That farmers intend to use more money when there's drought, because they want their plants to survive.
After listening to both David and Anthony, we realized that there is no argument that climate change is affecting how we grow crops, but neither of them seem to be too concerned on the effects it may have on our food being eaten by millions of people. They both strongly believe that genetically engineering crops was a perfectly fine solution to dealing with the climate change, but neither of them would mention one possible bad side to these genetically modified crops. It just seems too good to be true. After doing some research, we found that there are harmful side effects from these modified crops, such as infertility, immune problems, increased aging, flu-like symptoms, increased food allergies, and major organ changes, just to name a few. Also, a lot of these crops have a pesticide called Bt built inside of them that is 1,000 times stronger than the spray they usually use. Since it is inside the plant, this means it can't be washed off. I'm no scientist, but eating food that has poison built inside of it does not seem like the best of ideas. After talking to these scientists, we wanted to talk to some real farmers who depended on their crops as their source of income, so we decided to go to the local farmers market. But it turns out it's harder to find than you think. After driving for quite some time, we reached our destination, but found out it wasn't open the day we went anymore. This got us to think how hard it must be for small farmers to make enough to support their family if they only sell their food one day a week for a few hours. when there are plenty of supermarkets on every corner, open every day, some for 24 hours. There are even purely organic supermarkets such as New Leaf and supermarkets such as Publix that have organic sections for the people who want organic food but don't want the hassle of going all the way to the farmer's market. Majority of people are going to go to supermarkets because it's much closer, more convenient, and cheaper.